welcome to the stage the chairman of the National Tennis Hall of Fame Museum, Christopher Clouser.
Good evening. They say this was one of the original rackets that was played at that match. We're going to talk to Billie Jean about that in a little bit. We had a special weekend here at the International Tennis Hall of Fame. We have a practice and a courtesy. We have a Hall of Famer who's in the room. We acknowledge him. The Pulitzer Prize winning photographer, probably the best ever to take pictures in the world. He is here tonight, Mr. Russ Adams. Russ, where are you? Billie Jean King, Billie Jean King's doubles partner, mixed doubles partner. They won everything. I'm not going to take your time, but please welcome Owen Davidson. Owen? The other great partner, who traveled the world and also won it all, and she's just the best. Ladies and gentlemen, Rosie Casals. Very first employee of the Women's Tennis Association, which you're going to hear a lot of history about. Ladies and gentlemen, she spent both the day and night with Andre Agassi when she was inducted, Peachy Kellmeyer. The Dean and the Historian of Tennis. A true gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, you know him, Bud Collins. And the woman we celebrated this weekend, the youngest ever, she's still the youngest ever, but she was the belle of the ball at the International Tennis Hall of Fame for the last 4 days. In the back row, Martina Hingis. You are in for something really special. This is something that's going to happen here, okay? About 6 months ago, Mark Stenning secured the rights for the original airing of the King-Riggs match. We thought that was pretty cool. We asked Ed Woolard and Peggy Woolard, we call him Mr. Peggy Woolard up here at the Tennis Hall of Fame because everything about the museum is because of Peggy Woolard. And if you like the museum, Peggy Woolard. She became a life trustee this week. So working with Mark and Peggy and Ed, Billie Jean and Alana said yes. We will come to Newport on the final induction weekend and premiere the King-Riggs match that was on TV. Well, that came in. And you saw that scratchiness that you saw there? Those are the commercials from the original film. Then in London, the new documentary came out about the King-Riggs match and the 40th anniversary this year, all about the things Billie Jean has done throughout her career. And that documentary is second to none. So you're going to see that documentary, and which includes the match. And the two people who wanted their money back, you're just crazy, because this is that good. Billie Jean flew overnight from West Coast to East Coast to get here. She is, along with Peggy and Ed and Mark Stenning, this Hall of Fame is because of those 4 people. There's no 4 people who have done more for the Hall of Fame and will ever do more for the Hall of Fame. We've asked them to do all sorts of things, and they never say no. You're going to hear Billie Jean's history, but by bringing her out, please thank her for everything she's done to make this a wonderful facility and a wonderful International Tennis Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Billie Jean King.
thought you had a lot of tennis today. You're still going strong. That's amazing. Anyway, thank you for having me, Chris. The people you mentioned tonight, I would like to also thank them, each and every one of them. And you're right about my Douglas partners. You're right about Ed and Peggy. Ed and Peggy have been such dear friends to me for so long now. I consider them family. Rosie Casals' family, Owen Davidson's family. We're all family. We're getting old, so we gotta love it. Love each other more than ever. And I could have never been so successful in my tennis career without Rosie and Owen. I never could play mixed with anybody at Wimbledon except Owen. He's the only one I can win a title with. Rosie and I won a lot there. And Rosie, you know, when she played with Nastasi, played the left court. Because Nastasi can only play the right court. You go there. So anyway, they won 2 Wimbledons with Rosie playing in the left court. And that's unusual for the woman to play in the left court. So Rosie was very versatile. She could play the right court or the left court. And also, she was my cohort. When you watch this film, we were like partners in crime through all of this. Just so I'll give you a little backdrop on this, what you're going to see. You're the only ones who are going to see it in the United States because it's not going to be shown in the United States. It's going to be, it's been picked up by PBS and American Masters, and they're going to do their own version of it. So it will not be this version. This is UK and the rest of the world version that you'll see tonight. This started over a year ago when the 9 of us, the original 9 who started women's professional tennis when we signed a $1 contract with Gladys Hellman in 1970 in Houston. They came to our reunion, the New Black Films people who produced it, and started talking to all of us. And that's how this got originated and how they got started. They talked to the WTA, and of course Peachy knows. Peachy's been with the WTA since '73. She's the only one that survived all the CEOs and everything, and all of us players. So anyway, that's how it got started. And Kaleidoscope is going to be the distributor, and that's throughout the rest of the world. But anyway, they came to us, and that's how this originated. Just so you have a little backdrop. And I did help them. They talked to Rosie a lot. They talked to a lot of us, and so it's really. They found footage that I have never seen, photos I've never seen, and particularly the Margaret Court part of this with Bobby Riggs. They were going to throw that away, and James Erskine at New Black Films saved it. So we're really lucky to have this now. It's permanent, and you'll understand some of the history. It's really from about 1968 to 1973. So that's just so you have a little bit of an understanding of how it evolved.
So we're going to watch the documentary, then we're going to come back, sit on the grass couches.
Best seat in the house.
Ask Billie Jean.
You know, I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here, and I want to thank the International Hall of Fame just for all you do to preserve our history, because the more we know about history, the more we know about ourselves, and the better we can shape the future. So the better we can shape the future. So there we go.
So enjoy the film.
Bye. Love you, baby. Thank you. Is Rosie coming up? I'm so glad Bud could be here tonight, because I love you guys. You know, Bud is such a world treasure, especially a national treasure, but what a historian in Bud. And I remember him at the Essex County Club when I was either 15 or 16. And that was it. That was the start of a wonderful friendship. So, thank you for being here. It's great.
not very good at this, so I'm going to ask for some help in a minute. So we'll ask a couple questions, then I think we'll have Rosie and Owen come out, who won championships, many of the championships. And Billie Jean, when this was first premiered 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago in London,
2.5 weeks.
yeah, she sent a note to her friends, which I thought was pretty interesting. It said, it was from Billie Jean and Alana, and it said, to our friends, this year marks the 40th anniversary of the 2 pivotal moments in my life's work. The first is the formation of the Women's Tennis Association, and secondly, my victory over Bobby Riggs. My commitment to equal rights and opportunities for all began many years ago. You've always talked about women's rights for all.
I talk about both men. I mean, if you look back and you hear my words, when I was 12 years old, I was daydreaming at the Los Angeles Tennis Club and started thinking about our sport. And everybody wore white shoes, white socks, white clothes, and everybody played white balls then. Everybody that played was white. And the question I asked myself at 12 was, where is everybody else? And then I started thinking beyond just tennis. I started thinking about the world. And I love history. In fact, I'm reading Thomas Jefferson right now, so nothing's changed since I was a child. And yeah, he was a great guy. So I think I knew that tennis would be my platform. So probably, to be honest with you, tennis was secondary in my life. That this equality that both genders. I grew up with a brother, Randy Moffat, so I think I didn't have a sister, but I grew up with and my father, my dad was so good to me as well, and my mother. So I just think we should have equal opportunity and rights for both genders, and it's just a no-brainer to me as a child even, and it continues to be. So often though, women do not get attention unless we're in the male arena. And that's the reason the King Riggs match was such a big deal. The media still control at least 90-95% by men. And so we've learned to see the world through men's eyes. We just have both genders. And it's just, just like having those cheerleaders at the King Riggs match, they're all women. Well, I'd like to see both men and women. Even with our World Tour Tennis Owners, I have women cheerleaders, and I argue with them all the time. But I want to see both genders on the court. So it's interesting the way the world is set up. And I just want everyone to always think about it. I want us to champion each other. Always champion each other, no matter what. And so that's really the great thing about that match, actually, is it did bring everyone together, even though they were betting and having parties and getting upset with each other. It did bring everyone together.
One more. What was the plan if you lost? Had you thought that through in any sense?
Oh, I thought about it a lot. In fact, that was probably a very big driving force in what I won. But besides, but I was totally respected by that. Because I love history, I know about Bobby Riggs. He's from Southern California, just like and I had heard stories all about him. But I did think about if I lost. And that's why, in the beginning, we were working so hard to make the women's tour happen. When he kept following me around, trying to get me to play. No, you have to understand, we're on our 3rd year of women's professional tennis in 1973. We were in a very tenuous position. We had no idea what was going to happen. And the last thing that any of us needed was to have to go out and play Bobby Riggs. And I didn't want to lose focus on the task at hand of what we had to get done. And you have to remember that I wanted the men and women to be together as an association. The reason we did it this way is because they rejected us. So this was actually Plan B. This is not my Plan A. This is Plan B for me. I don't know about Rosie. She can say whatever she wants. For me, this is Plan B to have the Women's Tennis Association. I wanted to have one. And I thought we could be so powerful on and off the court if the men and women had been together, because very few sports have high-profile men and women. And tennis being global and having both genders is remarkable. And it's a privilege and it's an opportunity at the same time.
Where's Davo? Davo?
Dave O'Hara, or did he leave? Dave, if you left, you're in big trouble.
I was worried about the men's couch and the women's couch. You know, I sit there with him.
Oh, well, I can sit there and he can sit there if he's here.
Where's Davo?
Maybe he left.
Okay. Rosie?
That's weird. He doesn't.
Chris? All the greatest championships in the world with this fine person here.
Well,
How tough?
that's not
How tough was it? How tough was?
He played with me sometimes. Go ahead.
What was really interesting, I think many of you don't realize that I was doing the color with Howard Cosell. And so I was looking at it from a totally different place. I was behind the camera, and so it was a little bit tougher to really get into the match and watch and enjoy it from that point of view, because I had my problems with Howard Cosell trying to be the expert about tennis, and I'm trying to talk and tell him what's going on and what you're thinking and how the strategy's going and all that, and he would interject all the time and say, but Rosie, we're looking at it this way and it looks like Bobby Riggs is going to be a winner. He's just got to get going, and you know, and it was so difficult.
Saying that up there?
Yeah, I mean, he said all kinds of things, but a lot of people don't also realize that this match almost never happened, because the other person that was supposed to be doing the commentary with me was Jack Kramer. Now we have a little history with Jack Kramer, and hence the reason going to Houston forming the Virginia Slims, correct? Because we could not get equal prize money.
Yes, we actually got upset with Jack. Go ahead.
But you know, it got down to the wires to whether Jack Kramer was going to be doing the commentary or not on ABC. And I think you should tell the part of the fact that if he was going to...
If he was going to be the commentator, I wasn't going to play the match, and they didn't believe me.
Yeah, it really got down to the wire, the very wire.
Yeah, it did. It was the night before, and Larry kept saying, you don't understand, Bill. If she told you this, it's a done deal. And they're saying, she's going to give up this match, this money, da-da. And he said, yes. So they finally took him off and put in Gene Scott, didn't they? Was it Gene Scott?
Yeah, Gene Scott. I did it with Gene Scott. And so, obviously, it was a little bit different because we didn't have that love-hate relationship that we were supposed to have, you know, the battle of the sexes on and off the court. But I got a lot of flack after, you know, calling Bobby Riggs, you know, 55-year-old duck-footed, you know, male chauvinist pig, which I did. I did, you know, that's how I felt about him at that time. But as we got to get to know him, he really was a very nice person, and thanks to him, he did a lot for women's tennis.
But the publicity was enormous. The pig, the sugar daddy, the whole thing. But then you and he did commercials together.
Well, I really wasn't going to do any commercials, but he was making a lot more money than I was. And in fact, I wasn't going to get anything. I was going to get winner take all. And I went to Jerry Correngio, who you heard the voiceover, and Jerry was the one that did the Ollie Frazier fight. Great promoter. Also, he's in the music business. He's the one that sold Univision for a few $1 billion not too long ago. This guy's a winner. I love him. Anyway, I wish anyway, it's a whole other discussion. And I still see Jerry, and I love him very much. And he's, you know, he's had cancer and he's had to overcome a lot of things. He's a great guy. And you'll never see a photo of him. In fact, for us to get this voiceover was, I don't think he's ever done it for anybody. So we're very fortunate. So I went to him and I said, you know, Bobby's making all this money because they were throwing money at Bobby. You guys, this is the way it is. You know, it's the old boy network sticking up for him. And so he had all those commercials. And I said, well, what about me? I'm not getting any. So Jerry gave me, that was a couple of things I got to do was because of Jerry. Just so I have some ancillary money in case I lost. I mean, I get zero. But I did think about, I didn't really answer your question about what if we lost. I really did not know, but I was scared to death. Because if we lost, I was worried about the tour, I was worried about the women's movement, I was worried a lot about Title IX. And I wanted to win that match very much to start changing the hearts and minds of people to match the legislation of title line. And some of you started clapping when I got the title line, which I love. And so I had all these things running through my mind, and I just said I have to win. But I don't remember this, but Rosie, why don't you tell the story? You came into the locker room 20 minutes before the match.
Yeah, we were actually playing at the Virginia Slims tournament.
That week as well, by the way.
And
We were
so,
playing a tournament
yeah, we were playing at the tournament at that time.
Hello.
And so
Yeah,
all this was happening, and so there was a lot. And I remember seeing her before the match, and yeah, I call her Old Lady, but that's just between us. I said, "Old lady," I said, how are you feeling about the match? I said, "I know you're going to win, you know." And she looked at me with her baby blue eyes, and she says, "I'm going to win this match, 3 sets." And I said, well, 6-3, 6-4, 6-4. I kind of,
She
you know,
went up
said
and
it
they
was
asked her
3
if
sets.
she got the score correct. Or she
And I
got,
said,
it was amazing. I mean, I don't know how you did
yeah,
it.
well, I mean, I
I
guess,
know.
didn't I? I guess, but you did say,
I didn't know, and
but listen,
you have to understand, I'm not listening to what she says.
but I believe you. I was like everybody else. When you said you were going to win, I believed you. And so there was no doubt in my mind there was never a plan B.
Well,
Okay,
I don't.
it was destined to happen that you
I don't
were gonna
remember.
beat him.
I don't remember that, and I don't remember my brother told me about 3 months ago. He said, "Sis, don't you remember you called me the night before and you told me, you know, I could bet the house."
Yeah, you said you were not going to lose
And I said-
to Bobby Rick.
And I
Period.
said, "What?" And my brother's a Major League Baseball player. Okay, was at that time with the San Francisco Giants. And he put a notice up on his locker, and every guy bet him. And he sat in his hotel room eating chicken wings, watching that match, and counting his money. According to my brother and Rosie, and so
No, you were very adamant. You were very.
I was trying to convince myself I had to. I felt like it was life and death that I had to. Title IX, women's tour. I mean, we had a lot going on. Women's movement. I mean, it's like, oh, please God, let me win. Anything. Just let me play the best of my ability. That's what I usually pray for.
But if Margaret had won,
Oh, I would have been so happy. I'm serious. I just couldn't believe it. She told me that Virginia's left to Detroit in the elevator, like it says. I got faded. I just went, "Oh, Mark, please."
Yeah,
I thought she would win, though, didn't you?
Well, she didn't realize what kind of a match it was. I mean, she said yes for the money, and she was very upfront about that, but she didn't realize all the pressure, what it was really going to mean to women's tennis, because she didn't want to look at that side of it. She didn't want to be involved on that aspect of it. So unfortunately, she did not prepare. And as I said, we were in Japan coming through and happened to, stop at the airport on the way back to San Francisco or whatever, and put the quarter in, and there we're watching Margaret Court lose to Bobby Rick.
Well, she shouldn't have curtsied. That was her first mistake.
Well, we did that, and I know.
That's actually where she lost the match.
but the enormity of the
That's
spectacle, the most widely viewed tennis match ever, none of that ever became your focus or affected you.
I don't know how you handled it. It was very nerve-wracking.
I get more nervous now. I don't know. You just have to live through it and do the best you can. That's all you can do. I'm just a big believer in one ball at a time, on and off the court. And that's the only way you can do it.
Well, you were definitely very focused. You didn't throw any, tantrums, one of your temper
I
tantrums.
know, but I visualized. I told you before.
Yeah, you did a great
very
job.
quiet. I'd already planned my.
Yeah, you were very focused.
Charles, will you turn on the lights, please?
So on the left, huh?
Huh?
Wait till I see.
I don't know. We're gonna track down Owen later tonight. We got time for a couple questions, then we want to show you one more time. So,
Is Martina still here?
here's
Well done.
Martina.
Congratulations.
Who's got the question? Right there, please. You have to stand up and yell it out, would you please?
If you say that more,
We'll repeat it.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if Billie Jean still plays tennis.
I play a little. I had double knee replacement. You just had one. 3 years ago, and it's changed my life for the better, and I'm able to play tennis again. And I go to the gym. What's going on? Are we here or speak?
Okay.
I go to the gym a lot, but I do play still, and I love it. You know, I own Rosie. It's my core business. It's my life. I'm a small businessman. I have been since '68.
Dan, please.
I just was curious, you know, to talk a little bit more about that whole process of time. I come from spiritual education at that time,
Thank you.
and I was in high school working with girls, and it was really horrible because all of men's sports were getting, like, not only football, but rowing, every sport was and women were getting less and less and less opportunity.
What year was this? What years?
Probably 60,
60s.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there.
Oh, do you want me to talk more about Title IX?
I would really,
Okay.
how did that all happen?
All right. Title IX evolved. Okay, I'm talking more about Title IX as a question. Title IX evolved during the 60s. Edith Green, a congresswoman from Oregon, she was called Mrs. Education, overheard a discussion of a lot of the senators and congressmen talking about an after-school program for boys. And they kept going on and on, how boys need this. And she said, oh, by the way, what about the girls? And they said, oh, no, don't worry about them. They'll get married and someone will take care of them. So she walks down the hall and she starts thinking about it. Because she's so much into education, she started this Title IX idea started to come good. So she really drew up the first papers and really got it going. And she's one of my sheroes because of that. Women are sheroes, men are heroes. So you're one of my heroes, Chris. And so anyway, another person who is really responsible is Senator Birch Body of Indiana. He was willing to compromise and get it through the Senate. Another person was Congresswoman Patsy Mink from Hawaii, the first woman of color that was in Congress. And she wasn't really behind it that much until she went home one day and her daughter Wendy said, hi, oh Mom, I got elected president today of high school. And she goes, oh, that's great, of the high school. Oh, that's great, Wendy. And she says, yeah, but I can't be a president because my teacher said girls can't be presidents. And so now I'm vice president. And you know how mothers and daddies are about their children. She's like, wait a minute. So she got totally behind Title IX. And it was because of those people that it started and evolved. It's interesting that Edith Green actually voted against it because it wasn't exactly the way she wanted. But I take my hats off to Senator Birch Body because he was willing to compromise. We needed to get the door ajar. And that's what it did. It's a 37 words piece of legislation, which is one of the shortest pieces of legislation ever. And what it says is basically is if a high school or college or university, public or private, receives any financial funding from the government, federal financial funding, that you have to spend it equally on boys and girls. Before 1972, most colleges and universities had gender quotas. For instance, if you wanted to go to medical school at Harvard, before 1972, the medical school had a 5% quota, so only 5% of women were in the classroom. And that's why we didn't have very many women lawyers or doctors. So what Title IX did is it broke that barrier down. And that's why we have more women than men in college now, which is now the challenge is we've got to get more boys, men going back to college. So it's very interesting, but it really protects both genders. Okay, because you have to spend it. And proportionality, because there's more women now, you have to, okay, let's say your school has 60% women, you have to provide opportunity for 60% because of the proportionality rule. So that's why sometimes they've dropped programs. Men's programs, but they've also dropped women's programs. But you never hear about that. You only hear about when they drop men's programs. Okay? There's a lot less gymnastic programs for women. So anyway, that's why Title IX broke down so many barriers. And women at that time have so much to be thankful for because girls could not get an athletic scholarship, for instance, before 1972. Like I went to LA State and worked 2 jobs, 30 miles away. Arthur Ashe had a full ride at UCLA, And Stan Smith had a full ride at SC. And the reason I didn't have a full ride was because of my gender.
Rosie, when you locked the door, the two distinct women's groups, bringing them together, nobody could leave the room. What'd you tell them? How'd you bring it together, besides locking the door?
Well, it wasn't easy because we had a lot of international players that were, governed by their own LTAs, which were very strong, very dominant. And so they were afraid, and we sort of lived the life, probably for 3 or 4 years prior to that, having been contract pros with Labor, Roosevelt, Pancho Gonzalez. There were 4 of us, Billie Jean, myself, Ann Jones, and Frankie Durer, that toured the world. And we at least had a taste of being a professional, a different lifestyle, and banding together because we were pretty much ostracized at that point. We could not play, in tournaments that everybody else could play. So we understood, certain things that we had to stick together. We believed that being professionals, being paid to play was the right thing. So I think we had a little edge on convincing our women that they needed to stick together, have one voice, and that would be the only way that we could compete with the men and earn prize money and earn a living.
Well, it's interesting. I never thought about competing with the men. That's funny. I never thought like that. I thought that we just needed opportunities, and we weren't getting any. And it's interesting what Margaret said in that film, that she believed that men and women should be together. The tournaments. So did we. I mean, we all did. And we were together. And I thought that was an interesting comment from her because, of course, we all wanted that. And I didn't quite understand that. I have to ask her when I see her just to get it, just understand better. I just like it when people are together and couples. I don't know. I have a hard time with separation.
I asked Billy a stupid question backstage before he goes.
No question.
How are you and Margaret Court doing?
We do fine. We see each other at Wimbledon every year. We go to the Royal Lodge. We always talk. I get along great with Margaret.
All the circumstances that happened. She lost the match, you won the match, whatever.
She and I haven't really talked about that match. I will never bring it up because I feel so bad for her. We have every single one of us in this room, and every athlete in the world has had days like that when she played Bobby. And I have had them, everyone's had them, and I had never seen this footage. I never saw the match. Did you ever really see the match? I didn't until I saw this. And I feel so bad for her because we've all been there. I feel my heart and my gut get all squeezy and go, oh God. We've all been there, and so I really will never bring it up unless she wants to, because that's just a rotten day for her. And you just have days like that. We all do.
So I shouldn't be doing this, but there was a wonderful celebration at Wimbledon.
It was great.
This is never, except Peachy, who has seen this? Nobody quite yet. It's going to be on the Tennis Channel, is that right? This was the 40th anniversary of the Women's Tennis Association. They brought together all the former number ones for a wonderful celebration.
Well, Martina was there.
Martina? Pretty special, huh?
What did you think? What did you feel or think? Yeah, I thought come on. Since you're the one that is the inductee this year, I think you should be here.
First of all, I always said that about you when I first met you. It's incredible what you have done for us. I mean, for the next generation, you talk about it in the movie. You talk about, I never knew how big that match was, so I wanted to see that so badly. And it's only how he went out there preparing 10 days before that. It was like, that's amazing. He probably must have been in this kind of bubble. Like, she's like, I know what it's like to go in the center for playing Venus or somebody like that big, but this was bigger than anything probably anybody can go through. So congratulations again. I mean, it's amazing.
So,
That was that day though, that 40th anniversary day.
Yeah, I thought it was well, pretty amazing to be there with all the champions in '73 and what was it, 19, 20, the 23 number ones. The only thing is like we didn't hear that much. I thought it would have been even greater if every player had said one thing. I
think everyone, we just didn't have enough time.
We all wanted to know how you got started.
Well, you love Monica, right? Wasn't that, because we were asking the players who their
like the
idol.
second then Pam was like, oh, well, why were you named after Martina? I didn't have enough time to explain myself why I was named after Martina.
Why were you?
Well, because she was such a big symbol of freedom back in Czechoslovakia. I said that in my speech. Yes,
That's right.
And yeah, she was not only a great tennis player, but because she left the country at 17-year-old, and they kept trying to get her back. And
That's why your mom named you that, right?
yeah, she was not only because of tennis, but also much more for the freedom and courage to leave the country as such a girl. And just listen.
so this Martina had to make speeches all weekend. She wanted to sneak down here and see this show. We brought her up on the stage. Please join me in thanking her for doing it.
That's the 40th anniversary of the WTA. Is that what it, Peachy, what is it? I haven't seen it.
12-minute film going back and really reviewing the 40 years of women's tennis.
Great. Go for it. Thank you, Peachy. You're also an inductee.
So flattered and pleased to be up with these great champions and great people. Billy, I can't thank you enough for coming. To Ed, Peggy, Mark, for making a special night. You might not have been there at the Bobby Riggs match, but you were here to see.
Actually, somebody was here tonight that I met at the cocktail party.
Who was there?
Somebody was there. Was it
Steve Lewinstein,
There it
I
is.
think, said he was. Okay. So Billy, we can't thank you enough.
Thank you for having me.
Martina, Rosie, for coming up and joining us.
And good luck with the capital campaign. Let's go for it.
Thanks.
Thank you.